The campaigning armies of Armenia had done their job and died in the act of collecting spines for their master. For the first time in a century, hostile forces marched in Armenia itself, with most of them being of a growing faction that did not support the insane and now unfruitful rule of the Chosen King. Arsiuka defeated a version of himself from an alternate world line, but not before receiving a dire warning about following the Chosen King's plan.
That man, that other me, he made me feel ashamed the way he acted. He was not what I am, but what I could be, a true warrior, a legendary soldier for sure. It sounded like he survived something terrible and gave up his own world to try and save us here. If I can trust him. But who can you have faith in if not yourself? Although, even if I believe it all, what can I do? He said that if the Chosen King summons Pandora with all his spine energies, we'll be doomed, for we cannot control her yet. I have to find that box he was talking about, the second Pandora's box, the box at the end of time. That's a bit of a wait, though. No, the only way is to somehow steal away some of the king's powers before he does anything stupid. Can I really go against him, though? Against my own... Wait, damn it, he's not my real dad! Blast that dark magic for making me think that for even a second! That's it! I've made up my mind.
Hello there, welcome back to Wings of Eden, where it's time for a couple of changes. I had various messages telling me to replace generals in lots of armies, so I could tell that something was going down. Luckily, I did have a few veteran generals left over from the death marches, so we've got some good replacements available. Anyway, among the ones we replaced was your boy Arsiuka, who has now betrayed us and gone over to the Armenian nobles. He's joined by some local clone forces as well. This is the leftovers of the army he recently beat. So they're now teaming up against us, and he's taken half of our local defending army away with him, although we'll just instantly clone back everyone else and get our army up to full strength in a couple of turns. So that's not a big deal. We've still got plenty of defences there. Now, the other thing that changed was whoever our faction leader technically was died, and so for the first time in forever, our faction leader is now actually available to interact with in this screen. They're in our dynasty again, and it's none other than Ashur-Nazir-Pal, the Chosen King in the lore, so that's good as well. The guy who was our faction leader was leading the army that I left in Britannia for no reason, and right now said army is going to attack the local city. As part of my attempt to see if we can level out our finances, we need to both lose men and gain territory fast, and up here is a perfect chance to do it. This army's full of mercenaries, it's really expensive, so I just invaded and took this territory with no problems whatsoever, and then I can downsize the army a little bit. However, at the start of the next turn, this army starts betraying me as well. There's another breakaway. The officer takes half the force and joins the Armenian nobles, and there was also a rebellion there at the same time, so plenty of mess up there. Hacking through more bad news, there are a few other rogue officers wandering around in our territory. It seems the Armenian nobles are growing stronger, but they're not strong enough to actually take territory from us, so they're not really a big threat, as it turns out, despite everything seemingly going wrong. Now, by the next turn, the rebel army in Britannia had besieged us, and we're about to run out of money, so it's time to take decisive action. There's another big force on the way, so that really scuppers any hopes of defending this territory, because this isn't our culture, the town, so we can't have a garrison from it. All we've got is our literally half-dead army right now defending. So we need to get them killed, basically, to save us some money, since we're not going to make any money off this territory. And let's get started right now by trying to break this siege, because this will give us an interesting battle where it's loads of Celtic units and Gallic units, things from the other side of the world, fighting in our name. Got to bring down another Manua Capi clone leading this small force. the two sides line up and just go at it. I guess there's nothing really different about battles between Celtic factions. The gameplay is exactly the same, but it looks a bit different, so there you go, here's some variety. We clash, but we have a slight numerical advantage, so I've got units on either side of the line who are going to be going around the back of the enemy army. Our cataphracts will deal with their ranged stuff, while a few infantry can charge into the back of the enemy's main blob and start hacking. Going to take a while to actually work our way through these guys, because I think all the units on both sides are quite weak here, so they're not really killing each other very fast. Not that that really matters. Once everything's engaged, we just have to wait. I used an extra unit to go and support our cataphracts because they were struggling to get through the enemy infantry at the back. Eventually, we can sort that out. They'll now be able to take out pretty much anything with the rear attack. Not that they really need to, because we're starting to win the fight anyway. The enemy did make this one proactive move. They broke off some spears from the main battle to attack my jabs, who were throwing spears into their backs, although after they finished throwing the spears, so not terribly effective. And then there's this, the main line will just advance if the enemy quit the engagement, so that tactic doesn't work, but at least they tried to do something and then got themselves killed. We ended up with this result from that little fight. The enemy are pretty much dead. We're still fine relative to them, but relative to the big armies that are coming from the south, we're probably screwed. It depends if we get any real defender's advantage from being inside the town, not quite sure. And there's really no hope of repairing the town up either to get it into good shape before the enemy arrive. Now, because we are very much about to run out of money, I'm still disbanding units and trying to find ways to make back our deficit, until finally I remembered, because the game reminded me, that you can just tax people to make money, and I was like, of course, we'll just steal all the money from the peasants, so with that, we'll be able to stay afloat a bit longer. The struggle of the Armenian people is a shared burden, in which Armenians must become heroes. Some perform great deeds on the battlefield. Some report instances of magic use among their neighbors without hesitation. Others ensure the comfort of Lady Pandora with material contributions. The time has come for us to throw away the comforts of mortality and pool our strength for one final chapter. My brave, loyal people, give up your coins, your silks, your precious stones, your metalled tools, your carven wood. Give it up to Pandora and show her how much she means to us. And show how much it means for Armenians to remain free. Is there anything that should not be sacrificed to achieve that? No, how could there be? Flood the temples with generous offerings and be saved. And for true heroes, be aware that in your family tombs there lie sources of great power. Sources that could accelerate the coming of Our Lady and bring not just salvation, but eternal life in our eternal Eden. Skipping ahead a few turns now, nothing much happened, and we're still losing money. We need to get rid of some more troops if we can. Here, for the first time, some enemies actually came close to our capital at Armavir, but the Chosen King quickly moves out with a force to take them down. Now look at this auto-resolve. They've got some trash spears and 2 archers, and we've got way more archers and better infantry, so I thought surely that's just an one-sided auto-resolve. But no, we somehow lost 3 units bringing them down, and the enemy only lost 1 unit. Luckily they'd fallen back, so the whole army gets deleted. But still, a very ungenerous auto-resolve for us there. Now moving on once again, here's a turn up for the books. The Chosen King just randomly died. I think he died of old age at a younger than average age, so we've now lost him and he's going to have to transfer himself to another body. We've still got plenty of Manua Capi clones around for him to use, but that's annoying. This also means that the brief glory days of the Orontid dynasty are once again over. We no longer have control of our faction leader. It's just going to be some guy. Again, we can go in the diplomacy screen to see this guy's name and appearance, but we don't know where he is or who he is, etc., so we can't use him or his influence to do anything. I also noted while I'm here that I'm finally no longer the #1 faction. The Adricians are #1 right now for some reason. Looks like the standards have become pretty low, if even us in our sorry state are considered the second best faction. I think it's only based on the number of troops you have, which again is suspicious because we have fewer and fewer troops these days. Anyway, you can see that one of my armies has been disbanded to the point when it's just one unit, our general, and I thought let's use this general to try and take on this small incursion by some rebel forces. We've got a Manui Capi clone and a few troops sneaking up to the border, and this gives us a challenge battle. Can we take them down using just a general? Now the enemy have a cunning plan to start this battle. Turns out this lake on the field is passable, so they go and hide their troops underwater. Very sneaky, but it's not going to do them very much good. I decided to be more respectful of nature and move my troops around the water, and after I did that the enemy decided to charge back out of the lake to come at me. So now I can start moving up the nearby hill to get a hill advantage over these guys. Their cataphracts are going to be able to catch up with me though as we run up the hill, so soon enough I need to turn around and charge back down into their general. Now here's a clash where our slight downhill charge should give us a better charge than they got, so even though we charged into each other, you see it's mainly their troops that get killed by the impact. Not quite sure how the incline thing works, but it seems to come off in our favour there. Now though, we need to finish off the unit before these spears join the fight, since of course we can't really quit the engagement very easily if we do get bogged down by the spears, and luckily the enemy general breaks at the last possible second and most of my unit will be able to escape from the spears. Now then, all we need to do is charge back up the hill, or run back up the hill, and do the same thing but against the spears. We do have our archery, but it's very ineffective, so it's unlikely to do much. The real way we have to deal with these units is to just frontally charge the spears and hope that our charge bonus overcomes our weakness to spears. The AI is quite good about using the fact that when your units stand still, they resist charges a bit. They stop moving whenever I charge at them. But for the case of those levy spears, it's not enough. We just flatten them and they die instantly. Now we have to try the same thing, but against the heavy spears, who we've seen before when using them in our own armies, are quite a lot better. Again, they stop to receive the charge, and they might even be in the shield wall formation there. Pretty good stuff. So we charge in, inflict some casualties, but it's not breaking the unit, it's not flattening the entire thing, and their backup, that other unit in the background, is going to close in and trap us here. So now I want to escape. The UI disappears for a second. That's because I was slamming the keys on the keyboard. There's some key, I'm not sure what it is actually, that causes your men to automatically withdraw from combat, and I thought maybe that's better than doing a move order. Maybe it has less of the effect where your men just instantly die when they try to turn round. Can't remember what it is, but it's the thing the AI uses to control its cav. There's a scripted behaviour for going forwards and backwards out of combat that you can trigger in some way on your own units. Anyway, so I just ran around for a while trying not to fight the spears until I was back above them. Everyone's tired now, so our cataphract charge isn't going to be very good, but I presume the enemy's tiredness also reduces their resistance to charges, so maybe it cancels out. And in this case, we do slam right through the unit, pretty much taking it out, and in the short ensuing melee, we're able to rout it, so that's what we wanted to see. Away they go. And now we'll set up to do the same thing on the other unit really, just have to hope it works this time also. In they run, we soften them up with a few arrows that barely did anything. The enemy stop and present their shields and we just run right into them. And again, we do manage to get through most of the unit. Not everyone dies when they get sent flying like that, but it does kill a load, breaks the unit, and there we go. We've won this challenge battle. It worked as intended in the end. Doing this reminded me of playing like Rome 1 or Medieval 2, where little weird clutch battles like this would happen quite often, at least in my vague memory. So there's the result. We actually did not defeat the Manua Capi clone, so he's still going to be at large. And for that reason, I'm going to chase him down, but again we get a very bad balance bar. Even though our force is literally twice or more the strength of theirs, it gives us an equal balance bar. I think the balancing is just being mean to us. So I thought if I auto-resolve, I might actually lose my high-ranking officer, and for that reason decided to kill the enemy manually.
Yield, traitor! Give me your head in peace!
I am not at liberty to do that.
You're a king's double! You exist only to follow orders! Now obey me and submit!
Unfortunately, my mandate to serve the chosen king of Armenia has expired by the direct order of Lady Pandora. To agree to your proposition would be disloyal.
Disloyal? You are already as disloyal as one can be.
That is incorrect. Conversely, it is likely you who is disloyal, given the likelihood that the Chosen King's orders will bring the downfall of Armenia and beyond.
You think I don't know that? The king is mad. Everyone knows that. But what it means to be loyal is to commit your life to your master and trust that they know something you don't. That is the way nations have been upheld for all time. I will die fulfilling my lord's will. You will die now, remorseless in your own sin, disloyalty in the flesh. If you even are really flesh.
You do not understand. This cannot continue.
Yet it shall!
This cannot continue. This cannot continue.
Shut up and die already!
At last, someone actually decided to invade. This is what I hoped would happen right away in this new phase of the campaign, but apparently not. Now that we're on the verge of death, someone actually showed up to try and attack us. We don't really have our defending armies anymore, but let's just see what we can do with our garrisons, I guess. It's not going to be quite the epic siege defences with the number of units available, but maybe we can pull something off. Artabanus has to go out from the capital to take down a clone of himself who is marauding around the countryside. Nice easy auto-resolve where once again the game is quite mean and deletes one of our units, where we should have been able to do that for pretty much free. Had to pursue that guy across Armenia and we eventually killed him on the southern border. And during that time you can see on the left that more enemies have shown up for the siege at Melitene, so maybe something is going on there. There are also other enemy armies around, but most of them have been around for a long time and just don't really want to attack. They're just waiting for something to happen, I guess. But then in the next turn, loads of armies from down in Arabia showed up. Looks like maybe the AI is starting to get serious about actually just taking our territory. It's possible the AI just smells how much strength you have, and it was waiting for us to not have many units left before it bothered to move out. Which is a shame, because I was hoping to have some huge battles with all of our armies back when we started this phase, as I mentioned, but whatever. This guy, by the way, Halita, is our new chosen king, a new clone who has been given control of the main army in the centre. For now, though, the action is all going on at Melitene because Pergamon do decide to attack. They've also got a half stack of half-dead units coming from the north. Those two red armies on the right aren't taking part in this battle. And because that siege had gone on for like 4 or 5 turns, they have got quite a lot of siege equipment. They've got absolutely loads, in fact, tons of siege towers and ladders. So that's going to make a siege defense particularly difficult. We're going to be hampered by the fact that we only have our garrison archers, who are limited in number and quality, and the big thing that hampers all siege defenses, that being the inability to target siege engines in an insane game design twist. So we just have to hope that we accidentally take down as many as possible as the enemy come in. While they're walking directly at us, we're going to get plenty of accidental hits because our men are trying to hit the units behind the siege engines, and the ladders and siege towers just block the fire arrows. Ladders can be relatively easily set on fire, so we get one approaching the northwestern corner and one more slightly further down the western wall. But the siege towers are more difficult to take down with fire arrows. You need to hit them for ages, basically, and we simply don't have the time to do it. They are going to be able to set up here. There's also our ballista towers, which may or may not bring the enemy down. They do a lot of fire damage, but again, they can't target siege engines, so it's only by accident they might actually hit them. This ladder right here does go down by accident, for example, with both our fire arrows and ballista bolts taking it out as we try to hit the men climbing it. The siege towers, though, are not going to be quite so easy to take down, because once the units moved through them, your men stop firing in the direction of the siege tower altogether, and accidental damage becomes very unlikely. As for the fight that's going to happen on the wall, at least it's only pikemen that they've led the attack with, so they're not going to be terribly effective in that melee. Elsewhere, their other units have decided not to go ahead with their attacks. They had guys going towards the southwest corner, and they've turned back and started pulling their siege engines away, or pushing them away I should say. They also had a large group going around to the north, and that also broke off the attack and started going back towards the deployment position. This ladder right here has just been outright abandoned. Not really sure what's going on, but the AI is committing to using only these 2 siege towers for some reason. Classic AI fail. So all I can do is wait, but there was one proactive thing I could try. That is to move my cataphracts outside of the city to punish the fact that the enemy had skirmishers waiting right outside our gate. The skirmishers started running away, but we still caught up to them. I routed them quickly, and now I need to get out of there. The enemy's cav at the back are reacting to this and charging for my cataphracts, but getting out of there isn't going to be as easy as I expected. First I ordered my men to run back towards the gate, and that went okay, but when I ordered them to go through the gate into our city, it just cancelled the order. My men stopped and started fighting with the pursuing units. It was treating the gate as impassable or something. It wasn't letting me give an order for them to go back inside. All I could do was walk towards the gate, but by this point it's too late anyway. Walking away from this melee won't work. All our men die and the unit routes. But the gate definitely isn't impassable, because you can also see one of my archer units that routed on the wall and started leaving the city is now sneaking back in via the gate. So there is a way in. I'm not really sure what happened there. On the wall things aren't going terribly well. Our levy spears are getting taken out by the spam coming up through the towers. But the enemy are starting to get tired now, and their killing power has been dramatically reduced. Plus, I've got some archers behind their block, very slowly killing them. That, in tandem with the tower shooting into the enemy blob, will be reducing their numbers very, very slowly, I say, because both the towers and archers are quite weak. Since the enemy aren't reinforcing though, we are going to gradually clear this wall out. Right, that's all sorted then. Now back to the official siege of Melitene, distance running cup. General, wait a second. They're signalling for reinforcements. Even if you won't commit the rest of the towers, at least send warriors to finish capturing their gates. No, that'll tire them out for the cup. So, shall we say that it's that tower, over to those two ladders and around them, then back here? Don't you hear that, General? All that shouting from the walls. Something's happening up there. Oh yeah, sure, wouldn't miss it for the world, but I'm trying to organize something here, so please keep it to yourself, alright? If we let up now, the attack will fail. We have to be more aggressive, General. Oh, you want aggression, huh? Alright man, look. How about we extend the route a little bit? You go 5 sets on the tower ladder circuit, but to win, you gotta make it to the biggest temple in the city first. But until we control the gates, man, you've gotta start thinking outside the gates, beyond the gates, you know. No, I don't know what you mean at all. Look, those people are human, ain't they? They'll respect our entry when they hear about the cup. They'll be cheering on the runners like anyone. And once the award ceremonies are over, we'll have men on the inside. You see, I'm using my head, so just be quiet. Yes, sir. I might warm up for the run then, sir. Think I'll run maybe out towards the mountains, sir. Just for a bit. Good man. Finally taking all this seriously. The battle has come to a close. No one can be bothered to fight anymore, but the drama continues as we watch the official Siege of Melitene distance running cup. And this guy is making it to the finish line. He runs all the way through our city after somehow being let through the gates. And there's the photo finish as he reaches the temple. But he's only in 3rd place by the looks of things. 2 other guys have already made it and are doing the official slow motion shuffle. Keep in mind this is on quadruple speed right now, so if it looks slow motion here, it's really slow motion in normal time. And now the guy in 3rd place also begins his shuffle, and in case you were wondering like I did, he did eventually shuffle over to join the other guys. I also noted at this point that these runners actually have no torsos, giving them an unfair advantage. They're just a head and arms at the top of the armor, so perhaps that stopped them from being weighed down and explained how only these 3 gents were able to make it in, while the rest of the enemy army is still sprinting up and down back where they deployed. You can see them on the mini-map up there. Anyway, that was it for the battle. We just had to wait for the time limit to run out and the stage would eventually cancel out. Not in a win though, only in a draw, because the enemy didn't really lose anything and most of their stuff is still outside. The game doesn't consider them to have lost, meaning the siege will just continue as if that battle hadn't happened. We did kill a few of their units in the fight, so that's something. But yes, as it's a draw, they will keep all of their siege equipment, they'll keep the siege going, and because we're suffering from attrition, a load of our men will now die after that battle. They'll have the opportunity to attack again in the next turn as well, with not only the same siege equipment because it kind of respawns, but more because they had another turn of building. And long story short, by the time we get back to their turn, they do go for it. And this time the situation looks a bit worse. We've got no general, fewer troops, and they've got more troops because their allies are reinforcing them. Plus, in this battle, the AI actually paid a little bit more attention, so it was a much shorter affair. We'll take a very quick look at this second round of the Siege of Melitene then, at the start of the next part. Thank you for watching, and special thanks to all of the Officially Devon patrons. Bankruptcy and famine will grip Armenia as things truly spiral downward in the next part of Wings of Eden.